The price, £3.25.
Making a model aeroplane is fun, but getting it to fly is even funnier. Welcome to a new series of craft, design and technology. It's not all going to be about how to make things. We're going to look at ways of getting our ideas across to other people, how the various design elements work towards the final product, how the new computer technology can help make better products, and we'll be looking at energy and how we use it to make things. At the end of the series, we'll be pulling all these strands together to look at the future for design technology. Now, when you've got the inkling of a design idea, the best and simplest way to explain it to other people is to draw it. And someone who knows a lot about putting design ideas down on paper, and also knows a great deal more than I do about getting model planes to fly, is Bill Birkinshaw, editor of Model Aeroplane magazines. Hi, Bill.
Hello.
Well, the first thing I want to know, really, is once you've got the idea in your head, how do you transfer it onto the paper?
Well, I got my first idea for Craft Design 1 just in a moment of doodling, and of course that's only the first stage. After that I then proceeded with a few sketches down on a sheet of paper again, outlining a few of the ideas in a little bit more detail, a few construction details, and then I pressed on straight away to a full-size drawing for this all-sheet free-flight rubber-powered model.
So I ought to mention really that Craft Design 1 is the plane that you're designing for us, and how long would it fly for once you wound up the rubber band?
I hope that it will fly for around about a minute. The rubber motor is from here to here, and although it's an all-sheet model and it will be a little bit heavy, it should fly for a reasonable amount of time.
Great. Well, I look forward to seeing it. Thanks, Bill.
Okay.
Well, Bill's going to carry on working now, and we'll come back later to see how our prototype is coming on. And with a bit of luck, fingers crossed, later on in the series, we'll actually build it and, of course, fly it. Well, learning to draw is as important as reading and writing. It's a way of communicating with people and of preserving your ideas in a form that can be understood by virtually anyone. I don't suppose the Paleolithic culture that created these rock drawings about 15,000 years ago was much like our own, and yet we understand something of the way they lived from these quite sophisticated paintings. These drawings were to evolve into the first written languages, probably in Sumeria around 4,000 years BC. Egypt and the other civilizations of the Eastern Mediterranean developed this early picture writing into highly stylized alphabets based on phonetics. That's the sounds people actually make when they talk. So, in the West, picture writing died out about 1700 BC. But the Chinese still use an ideographic writing system to this day. Each of these complex symbols, and there are about more than 30,000 of them in the alphabet, stands for an idea or an association of ideas. So it's a living link with prehistory. But the technique of using drawings to convey ideas quickly and simply never really died out. We continue to use ideograms today in a system of signs and symbols designed to provide us with clues as to how to find our way around the increasingly complex society in which we live. After all, you wouldn't want to find yourself in the wrong place, would you? Creating stylized images like these is part of what we call the graphic arts, from the Greek word graphikos, which means drawing. In a complex society, the graphic artist is a sort of visual interpreter whose job it is to make things easier for us to understand. So, what sort of ideas would we communicate to other people by drawing? Here at Conran Associates, designers and graphic artists are creating all sorts of products for industry to manufacture and, of course, for people to buy.
A simple bowl like this requires an amazing amount of work, and that is normally done through drawing. And here I have some examples of drawings that we use between ourselves to communicate between ourselves. We use a drawing like this to look at the shape and the form and to talk between ourselves as to whether a bowl should be round, whether it should be tapered, should a colander have handles either side, should it have a long handle, what style and form should that handle take on, whether the colander holes should be of a certain size or form. Then we start looking at colour. We then start making lists, really lists of images to ensure that products within our list, our written list of products, will fall into the type of style that we're setting this particular range. The next stage is to prepare drawings to a very much higher finished state. Now these drawings are important because they not only represent our somewhat more defined ideas about what the product should be, but they are also drawings to sell the idea to the client. They'll show the client the basic forms that we think are important and some of the range of products within it. But also we take a great deal of care to make a very interesting and pleasing drawing, because that is all part of impressing the client with the care taken over the thinking and the ideas involved. We'll also use the drawings at the presentation. Having agreed the designs with the client, we produce drawings like this on tracing paper that can eventually be printed a number of times and circulated to all those people who are going to become involved, who are many. These drawings show details such as the overall dimensions, the heights, the thicknesses of the walls, how through sections the internal details can affect what is going on the outside of the product and vice versa. We can look at how details as a rubber foot, which will assist with the stability of the product eventually, will fit in. And this is then sent off to the client, who then makes their own drawing of the product as they see it from the point of view of manufacturing a injection moulding tool that will ultimately be used to make the product that we started off with.
So if we look at drawings designed to communicate specific information, we find there are really two kinds. The technical drawing, which is often to scale and shows how a thing is put together, and this can show anything from a giant office block to the anatomy of a small mammal. And the illustrative drawing, which is more about the idea of what a thing looks like, the finished office block, or the living mouse, if you like. This well-known cartoonist is a representative draftsman. His drawing doesn't really look like the person it represents, but we'll recognise it because it accentuates certain familiar characteristics.
What I do is I usually start on a drawing of somebody with the eyes. The eyes are always rather the most expressive part of the face in a way. And I do the eyebrows. I don't usually use much cross-hatching. I think drawing should remain as simple as possible. Beerbohm said a caricature should be the most beautiful expression in the fewest lines, or words to that effect. It's got a slightly red face. I use a little bit of cross-hatching sometimes to show colour in the face. This is always the most difficult and tricky bit, the mouth. I think it's the most expressive part of the face. The teeth sometimes don't show, but in this case I'm going to put them in. Slightly receding chin. And then I have to place the ear. I'm really tracing, not tracing exactly, but there's a drawing which is not quite as good perhaps as this one underneath. And I'm using this as a master drawing, and I'm the whole time improving each one, so there might be 50 of these drawings before I get one that I really like. And I do the hair, everybody has a very individual hair, and I use this brush which is an old brush. It's been around for about a year now, used every day. I draw nearly every day, not a caricature. I like drawing, it's very nice. It's a very nice thing to do, really. It's very nice to be paid for it, too. Usually I do the sweep of the hair, so if anything shows, this takes a bit of time. Then this guy goes out in a dinner jacket a certain amount. Bow ties are rather nice because they give a little bit of black around the neck. And then I'm very keen on getting the sort of body language, the way the head is on the shoulder. It's very characteristic. Some people have very thick necks and their heads are down there and they're hunched up, and other people are rather tall and like ostriches. And this man, I think, is rather, in a sense, rather deferential and leans forward to people and so on. That's what I've tried to show in this drawing. So I've got some feeling for how he stands. Just the face alone, if you just saw the face alone, you wouldn't recognize him perhaps as well as if you see the whole figure. Here he is in his dinner jacket. And that's basically the drawing, more or less finished.
Here, an artist is drawing a tree. It's not an exact description of the tree, it's a representation that helps us to understand how it would feel to be standing there.
The shape of the bowl itself it looks at first rather easy to draw. It makes a kind of Y shape, like a widened out catapult, but the actual shapes of it are very subtle and very fluid. There's a lot of tension within what looks, at first glance, might look a rather mechanical shape. And then I like the detailed texture of the trunk itself. Is very nice to draw, sort of crabbed, collapsed look of the bark. Bits of it almost looking as if it's falling off. It's nice to climb up. My children have got good handholds, and it's also got a nice lived-in feel. It's hollow, and if you look inside, it's full of old rotting cardboard boxes, remains of debris of old picnics, and empty Coke cans. It's a tree that people enjoy. I don't think you can ever really show every leaf. You might, if it's a simple tree, you might show every branch, but you need to arrive at some kind of formula for suggesting that there are lots of leaves there without actually trying to draw each one. It'd be a nightmare.
Tom Robb is head of the School of Fine Arts at Middlesex Polytechnic. Hi Tom, nice to have you. Hello. Now of course, like reading and writing, drawing has its own rules. What are the basic rules?
Well, you've got to take into consideration things like, for instance, perspective and one's viewpoint, whether you're looking down on the object or looking at it from the side and so on. And also the source of light, how much light's coming at it and from which direction. For instance, I've got a small diagrammatic drawing here, and assuming that the light's coming from that direction, one would, using a pencil here, just simply show some indication of the light falling on the object by drawing the shadows, so that you get some three-dimensional impression on paper of what the actual object looks like, and throwing in some shadows like that.
You can get darker and lighter with the pencil, but what other tools can you use to draw with?
Well, you can draw with a brush actually, but I have here, as well as the pencil, which is the basic drawing, to a piece of charcoal. You can do pretty well the same thing with that. You get a far more exciting and dramatic effect with it, and much quicker, because it imparts a lot more carbon onto the paper. And by using your finger, you can get a variety of tones, which is quite interesting. So you get a quick picture showing you all the tones and describing the objects really very quickly and dramatically like that.
It's really quite bold, isn't it?
Yes.
Are there specific things that you'd use charcoal for?
Well, anything really. You can use it for landscape or portraits and still life like this. Anything where you have to describe the tones very quickly and describe the performs in space.
Fairly
using
messy
colour.
on the fingers.
It is a
isn't
bit, yeah.
That's a bit cleaner. You've got a felt pen there.
Well, felt pens are rather nice. They're used a lot by people nowadays. One advantage they have, they don't smudge.
I still think I like the charcoal bits. That looks really fun.
Yes.
Thanks, Tom, for coming along. Well, drawing is about communication. It's a whole world of visual language in which we can set down our ideas logically and progressively, either for our own use or for other people to follow. Today's technology is giving us new ways of using graphic techniques to design products, and we'll be looking at those later on in the series. But the computer will never entirely replace the good old pencil or the charcoal, and there'll never be any substitute for the human imagination. I see Bill's just about finished the basic drawing for Craft Design 1, so let's hope this one flies. Next time we'll be entering the space-age world of computer graphics. Until then, bye-bye.